which is better.
Okay, and I'll show you some things. So yes, leaning back onto your arms, just seeing how it feels. So I thought we're going to do a few things around the hip joints and the pelvis today, but I think particularly trying to connect the movements of the hips with the rest of our body. So I just wanted, and I also just thought it'd be nice to start in sitting to see everyone. And I will play around with trying to mute people at different times. So maybe I won't mute you at the moment. I'll show you a few things we're going to do in lying down, and then I think I'll mute you for a period of lying down. So from here, you could just do a little bit of rocking actually. So if this feels okay, you could do a little bit of rocking from side to side. So as you know, these are just all different things you could do depending what feels okay. So you could rock from side to side. You could do a little bit of circling of your body. That's always quite nice. So you're rocking in a circle around your sit bones. And you could also do a little bit of leaning from side to side. And I think we might have done this one. And you can add your arm in so it becomes a little bit more of a side lengthening movement. So I'm very keen on these side lengthening movements. I think what we said before, it's something to do with this feeling of being restricted. And then we're going to come into pinwheel in a moment. So do just a couple more if you want to. Just the sense of how does your body feel. And from here, let one knee come on top of the other. And I think one of the things about maybe to adjusting to doing things online rather than in person is this, it's what's really important is to try to keep coming into the sense of how does it feel. And the positive thing I was thinking is you're not in class with other people, you can't look at them and compare yourself. So that's a positive. But yeah, sometimes looking at a screen can make you a bit, I always find, you can get a bit sort of abstract up in your head rather than down in your body. So we're going to turn towards the knee that's going out to the side. You're going to fold forwards and really in this position, see if you drop down into feeling your body. So particularly now you're not looking at a screen, see if you can drop down, feel the weight of your elbows on the floor maybe your forehead. It doesn't really matter what touches the floor. What does matter is you're just trying to really feel yourself in this position. So you're noticing if anywhere feels a bit stiff, a bit achy. You're noticing if it feels nice in any way. And you're also noticing if you can feel your breathing. We won't stay there too long at this point. So then walk your hands back in towards you. Lean onto the arm on that same side as that knee that you folded over, and then bring the top knee back over onto the bottom leg. Open your legs out in cobbler pose for a moment, and then go on into side 2 of pinwheel. And a bit of circling and settling. And again, so using this movement to help you feel the ground beneath you, the contact of your sit bones and your buttocks with the floor. And then just as we did on the other side, we'll come into this place where we're turning towards the knee that's going out to the side. We're folding our body forward. We're having a few breaths, settling down. And just trying to really feel ourselves in this position, to be with the sensations of the body, the sensations of the breath. Maybe have another cycle of breath, let it there, let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then you can walk your hands in towards you and come back up into sitting. And while I show you just quickly run through what we're going to do on our backs. You could either sit in cobbler pose, leaning back on your hands, or you could lengthen your legs out. I know some of you like to sit with your legs long and wide. So just choose what you prefer. And briefly show you. So we're going to do I don't need to really show you this, tilting your knees. We're going to do this one where you lengthen your legs out and you hook your heels into the floor, yeah? And I'm rocking myself up and down a bit by moving my toes towards me and away from me. So some of us did that on Friday as well. So we do that one. Then we'll come to a bit of tilting our knees with our feet wider, which again, I don't really need to show you. We'll fold in. Then we're going to come to this one where we let the knee fall out to the side and we press down into the foot. So I'll talk you into this one. A bit more from here, and then from here we will roll onto our side and we'll come into Anantasana, this one. So yeah, I think that's probably enough for me to show you. Why don't you lie down onto your backs and I will mute everyone. So if you need to speak to me, unmute yourselves, or yeah, unmute yourselves and say something or wave at me madly. But lie down onto your backs. And just let yourself settle and arrive. So again, this is probably why it's really important that we do some time lying down, where you're not really focusing on your device. You're really trying to bring your attention to your body, to how you feel. So yeah, just a couple of quiet breaths. Maybe start by letting your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left and see how that feels. So you're feeling the weight of your head on the floor and you're easing your head from side to side. And finding a comfortable place to settle your head down, where the center of the back of your head is resting on the floor. And let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. So again, there's that feeling, if we're feeling a bit that we're in our heads and not in our bodies, finding our breath within us, wherever we feel it most clearly, is so helpful in terms of coming into our bodies, of feeling ourselves. So from here, if your legs are long, I'd like you to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And take a moment to feel your footprints on the floor. Very nice leggings, Siobhan, I like those. So, yes, take a moment to feel your footprints on the floor. Feel the back of your pelvis on the floor. And then, yes, your feet could be slightly closer into you, Francis, actually. You look like you were wondering about it. So yeah, that's good. So feel the back of your pelvis on the floor and then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And notice how it feels. So this is familiar movement. Sometimes when movements are familiar, they can be really soothing because they're familiar. Sometimes we can zone out a bit because they're familiar. So again, just really try to encourage yourself to notice how it feels. How does it feel around the back of your pelvis? How does it feel into your lower back? Does one side feel a bit easier than the other? How smooth does the movement feel? That's nice. And just maybe once, twice more to each side. Lovely. And then we're going to try that fun movement where we lengthen our legs out on the floor and we're rocking on our heels. So we've done this one in class, and sometimes I know this one can be a bit perplexing, and I was almost wondering whether it would be easier when you, having watched me. So you lengthened your legs out, you're digging your heels into the floor, that's it. And then quite quickly, you're pointing your toes away from you and towards you. So you're rocking, and that's creating a sort of force that is rocking all the way up in your body. So you could go a little bit quicker with your feet, Kate, and see if that's it. Good. Yeah, I can see this happening in most of you. So you're rocking yourself on your heels. And you feel this movement traveling all the way up into your shoulders, and you even maybe feel your head nodding a little bit on the floor. But the only active thing is the feet. You could go a bit quicker with your feet as well, Mal, maybe. Oh, I'll unmute you for a moment. Sorry, were you saying something?
I've got a sore heel.
I've got a sore heel. Okay, well, don't then.
It also hurts all the way through my back as well. So.
Okay, yes. Well, maybe don't do that one then. So.
No, it's fine. It's just like...
Okay, so from there, bend your knees again and stand your feet on the floor, but this time take your feet wider, so they're as wide as your mat. Yes, it's a really good point. If I tell you to do anything and it hurts, then don't do it. So that's a very wise decision by Mel. So see how it feels now to start tilting your knees to the right and to the left with your feet wider. So you've got feet as wide as the mat, let the knees tilt to the right and to the left. And so when we do this movement with the feet wider apart, it starts to move us a bit more into the hip joints. Notice as you're doing this, sometimes we leave one leg behind, which is fine if it's a conscious choice. If, say, one hip is feeling a bit stiff and we don't want to let the knee go too far down towards the ground. But just notice that you're not unconsciously leaving one leg behind. If it's comfortable, and it is early on, so this is entirely up to you. If it's comfortable and you want to, you could let the knees come all the way down towards the floor on one side and roll your head in the opposite direction and have a couple of breaths there. But only do that if it's comfortable. You don't have to. You could just carry on rocking from side to side. And do the same thing. Just do it for a couple of breaths and then do the same thing to the other side. And again, if it doesn't feel good staying there for a couple of breaths, don't do it. And when you've had enough of this one, you're going to fold both knees into your chest. Hold around the top of your knees, do a little bit of rocking from side to side or circling around the back of your pelvis. And then if you like, you can take your legs up to the ceiling, give them a shake out. You might want to add your arms in as well. Very nice. This is always something that can, yeah, this is a good one, I think, for sort of helping us feel in our bodies and feel cheery. Good. And then bring the arms and legs back down. Bring your feet to stand on the floor again. So we're going to do the second movement I was showing you when we were lying down. So what you're going to do is you're going to start to let your right knee fall out to the side. And as you do so, you're going to press into your left foot and let the left side of your pelvis come away from the floor. So you send your knee forwards a bit. Yeah, good. And then bring that right knee back up to the center. Let the pelvis come down on the left. So do that a few times. I'll do the same side a few times rather than side to side, Kate. Does that make sense? Yeah, do the same side a few times. So right knee out to the side, press down through the left foot. So let the right knee fall out to the side, press down through your left foot, let the left side of the pelvis come away from the floor. And see how that feels. So we're helping. I'm just going to unmute everyone for a moment. Is that all right with everyone? Does that make sense?
Are your feet still wide? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh no, your feet, sorry, I absolutely meant to clarify that. No, your feet are hip width apart now. And sorry, now actually when I was doing this earlier, I thought I must point that out. So sorry for not pointing that out. Good. So that's it. You're helping. You can move on to the other side. So you can start to. So you're helping your knee fall out to the side. So if you let your left knee fall out to the side, and then you're helping that movement by pressing into the right foot and letting the right side of the pelvis come away from the floor. So what it probably means, but send the right knee. So the foot that you're pressing into, that knee goes forwards rather than... Sorry. Is that me? I'm just going to... Yeah, I've just muted everyone because we've all got the same ringtone. It's impossible to know who it is. So just on that second side, so your left knee is falling out to the side, you're pressing into your right foot, so the right side of the pelvis comes away from the floor. So we all got a bit distracted by the phone going. Very nice. Good. And when you feel you've done enough of that one, you can also fold your knees into your chest. And that's it. Have a little rock from side to side. You can also take your arms and legs up towards the ceiling again. Just checking that I haven't completely forgotten something we were going to do. Okay, so look, yeah, arms and legs a little shake out, and then let yourself lie long again on the floor. I'm going to unmute everyone, so let's hope. Oh, still okay, the sound has gone. So yeah, so let yourself lie long on the floor for a moment, because we're going to, in a moment, roll onto one side, and we want to be long on our side. So it's a bit easier to be long on our side if we felt long on our back. So have a sense of yourself from the crown of your head through to your heels. So it might be quite nice lying long on your back to stretch into your heels. Quite nice for feeling the backs of the legs waking up a little bit. And then from here, you're going to roll over onto one side and settle yourself on one side, being long. So we're going to be doing that Anantasana side balancing movement. So you have got these different options with your head. So I always tend to, I think I've said this to you before, prop up my head in my hand because it makes me feel a bit more alert, which is always helpful. Or you could be here, or this bottom arm could be long. But yeah, I have to not feel too sleepy here. Otherwise, I don't feel very, very with it. So and have your top hand on the floor in front of you, because I'd like you to do a little bit of rocking forwards and back. So it's quite a nice place to give the side of your body a bit of a massage. Forwards and back. And also from rocking a little bit forwards and back, you're trying to settle down through the side of your body, so that we're trying to rest through the side of the body. So when I say that, yes, you don't want to feel you want to feel a bit alert. You also want to feel that you can rest through the side of the body. And from here, we'll come on into tree pose on our side. And if you need to use your foot to grab your ankle, you can do. Good. And I was just thinking then, I was trying to remember the phrase that in the Yoga Sutras, so the very ancient writings about yoga, they talk about the asana, the postures, they should be steady and comfortable. So I think for this one, maybe steady is what we'd like. Yeah, both things, steady and comfortable. And so as from here, let your top knee come towards your armpit. So we're still thinking about steady and comfortable. If you're feeling very unsteady, you could bend your bottom knee and bring that leg forwards on the floor. If you're feeling reasonably steady here, then you could be catching your trouser leg, your ankle, your shin, your big toe, and lengthening this leg up towards the ceiling. And so we're still thinking about that sense of being steady and comfortable. So, you know, we don't always have that much control over steadiness, but we do have control over comfort. So if you're doing this and it's feeling really uncomfortable, it might be a sign you should come out. Have a few breaths here. So at this point, we're growing into our heel in both legs. And then from here, we're going to roll onto our belly and just have a little breather on our belly before we do the other side. So see how it feels, where you like, and just let yourself roll onto your belly. I like to rest with one hand on top of the other on my forehead or my hands. You can give your pelvis a little bit of a wiggle. You could also do the one, if you like, where you bend your knees and point the soles of your feet towards the ceiling and let your feet rock from side to side. So, yeah.
Good. Very nice. Might also be nice. It's a very lovely bird song somewhere. So I was saying this is obviously one of the nice things about Zoom. Get more bird song. So let your legs come down and just give yourself a couple of quiet breaths before you come onto your other side for the other side balance. Because sometimes lying on our belly is a place where we can really feel our breathing. And so here it's probably about comfort. So you're going to be steady. So if it's not that comfortable, do move on to side 2 more quickly. So when you're ready, coming to balance yourself on your second side. So again, just decide what you're going to do with your bottom arm. So again, if we're trying to think about really challenging our ability to be steady, we'd be wanting to point the elbow, the bottom elbow, in the opposite direction to the heels. Yeah, so that's if you feel like you need a bit of an additional challenge. And then again, a bit of this rocking forwards and back across the side of the body. So I've had this very strange sort of stiffness around the outside of my right hip, and this actually gives it a really nice massage, which is probably one of the reasons I'm quite keen on doing it at the moment. Also makes it a bit more challenging. And then you can let yourself settle down. See how it feels to bring that top leg into tree pose. Let's have a few breaths there. Might be at this point you see how it feels to take your front hand off the floor. You're probably all doing that anyway, because you're such amazing yogis. And then from here, what's it like to fold the knee in towards your armpit and that top leg? Again, remember, if you're not feeling very steady, let the bottom knee come forwards. So it's up to you. You can always lengthen that leg out at any point if you start to feel more steady. And then from here, however you can comfortably catch your leg, the trouser leg, the shin. Lengthening that leg up towards the ceiling. Reaching into both heels. Just having a few breaths here and really seeing if you can let your awareness travel out into the whole of your body. So you can feel all the way down to the heel that's on the floor. You can feel all the way up to the heel that's up in the air. You can feel your elbow that's on the floor. You can feel the side of your body on the floor. Have another breath or two here. Now I came down out of the other side a little unmindfully, so we could come down this way a little bit more mindfully by folding the knee back into our armpit, so reversing these movements, coming on into tree pose. Obviously use your hands on the floor in front of you, coming into having 2 long legs and just seeing how it feels. Maybe see how it feels to balance on your side, bring your arm off, your hand off the floor. And from here then, we're going to roll back onto the belly. And we're going to do some slightly different movements here, but you might want to give your pelvis a little bit of a wiggle to start with. So I'd like you to organise yourself on your belly. So you've got your right hand standing on the floor beneath your shoulder, and your left arm is down by your side. So right arm standing on the floor beneath your shoulder, left arm down by your side. Good. And so the hand that's standing on the floor, you want the elbow off the floor. In which case, yeah, so for some of you, that's it, Mel. You want to maybe slide the hand back a little bit. Very nice. So keeping your head in contact with the floor, but allowing your head to roll, you're going to start to press down into that right hand and let the right shoulder come up. That's it. So as you press into your right hand, your shoulder comes up, you let your head roll towards the right. Yeah, good. And then you stop pressing into the hand and that's it, good. Kate, I think you need your hand a bit further back so your elbow's off the floor. That's it.
There.
Well, so you play around with it. So possibly somewhere in between those two. That's it. But you want to, yeah, you want to feel that you can press into the hand and then that's what lifts the shoulder away from the floor. Yes, that's it. So as you press into your hand, you can think about your elbow moving back a bit. Good, good. Keep it as easy as possible. You might have to play around with where your hand is on the floor. You might find it is helpful to have it further back or further forwards. Good. Very nice. I think swap sides now and try the same thing on the other side. And so remember, there's not a huge movement here, and we're just really trying to make this connection that the shoulder starts to lift because we're pressing into the hand. And the head rolls because the shoulder is lifting. So the active thing is the pressing, the pushing, as it were, into the hand. Very nice. Good. This is a really helpful movement for sort of freeing up the ribs and helping facilitate easier breathing. What I'd like you to do now is have both hands on the floor in that same position and go from side to side. So you're pressing into one hand and then the other. So you're rolling across your forehead. Good. So you feel one shoulder is lifting and then the other. Very nice. Good. Make sure this, that's nice. Make sure this feels as comfortable as possible. If it feels a bit uncomfortable, maybe do a little bit less, maybe change where your hands are, slide them up a little bit or down a little bit. And then if you would like, you can pause in the center and you can see how is it to press into both hands. And at this point, you'll be letting your head come away from the floor. So pressing into both hands, maybe your head comes up, maybe your chest comes up a bit. So you're coming into cobra. It could be a little cobra, or perhaps, you know, it depends how much you like cobra. Not anyone who loves it. Well, there's a few people that each love it, but pressing into the hands. That's it. Letting the head come up, letting the chest come up. Very nice. Do that on an out breath. You might just want to do it 2 or 3 times. And then from there, we're going to fold back into child pose. If you're loving your cobra, very nice. Gather your elbows in a little bit, Siobhan, as you, that's it, not just Siobhan, everyone. So as you come up, you want to think about the elbows sort of gathering into the sides of the body. That might be enough for now. So from there, folding back into child pose. Or if you prefer being in kneeling, but child pose would feel nice for your lower back after being on your belly. And have a few breaths there. Okay, so from child pose, we're going to come onto hands and knees and we're going to do some cat movements. So cat, a bit of tail wagging, so come onto hands and knees. See how it feels to round your back to the ceiling, to dip your spine to the floor. Often, in this one, it's often, the dipping down one is often called cow, but I think anyone who has cats would know that cats do this dipping down bit as much as they do the rounding up bit. They do the dipping down bit when you stroke them. Seeing how it feels like relaxing, letting your head hang, dipping your spine down to the floor, letting your belly soften. Letting your shoulder blades slide down your back. You can also do a bit of wagging your tail from side to side. So imagining you have a tail, a dog's tail, a fish's tail. Swishing your tail if you're a fish, wagging your tail if you're a dog. Seeing how those feel. And we're going to be from hands and knees coming into a lunge. So from here, you can bring 1 foot forwards into lunge and see how this feels. So we're thinking about this opening up through the front of the back leg thighs. So lunge can be quite helpful to get us to really feel our body because it's usually quite loud, the stretch that we, you know, I always find it's, yeah, I can really feel that big stretch in the front of my back leg bar. And have a few breaths here. Your back toes can be tucked under or they can be flat. So lunge is this feeling of really opening us around the front of the pelvis. You can always be on your hands. You know, if it all feels a bit much, make sure you've got plenty of weight going down through your hands. You could be on your knuckles like this, fingertips, flats of your hands. If your hands don't reach the floor, but I think they will do for you, you could have some books either side of you. So we're going to, from lunge, swap sides. You could do this going through dog pose. You could come onto hands and knees. So if you want to go to dog, you plant your hands down, you tuck your back toes under, you step that front and back. If you want to go from hands and knees, you can bring your leg back and step forward. So yes, if you're coming from dog pose, come into dog and then step the other foot forwards. If you come onto hands and knees, step the other foot forwards in lunge. So we're ending up inside to a lunge and having a few breaths here. So again, this feeling of giving the weight of the pelvis down to the floor, opening up through the front of the back leg. Toes can be tucked under or flat. What more can we say in lunge? It's so lovely. We can exhale. You can always do the variation where you walk your front knee out to the side a little bit and your both hands come into the centre. I'm sorry, my door's just rung off. Gemma, can you answer the door, love? Good. So if you've done this one where you've walked your hands into the centre, if you're going into dog, you'll need to walk your hands back. So you've got one hand either side of your foot to go into dog. So we are all going to come into dog now. It could be straight from your lunge, or you could be coming onto hands and knees, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips up and back. Into your dog pose. So see if this is your first dog pose of the day, seeing how it feels. Lovely. Very nice. So yeah, so in dog pose, all these things we can do to help ourselves feel more comfortable. Lovely. Which is usually bending the knees. Bending the knees. Big handprints on the floor. Hands quite wide apart if the shoulders are feeling tight. Whenever you want to, come down and have a couple of breaths in child pose. Let the breath come in, let the breath breathe in. So I thought we would come into one of the into the one-leg dog poses in a moment. And you all know these. I don't think you necessarily need to watch me. I always think with these ones. So you can watch if you want for a little bit. So the ones that I'm really keen on at the moment is where I let my pelvis roll and I stretch into my back leg. But you can keep your pelvis level. I find that one quite hard. Lengthen the leg up. You can also do this one if you like bending that top knee. So we're going to be doing dog with these one-leg dogs and then coming into a forward bend and up into standing. So you can really play around with any variation of these you like. And obviously if you don't like them, you don't need to do them. Yes, lovely. So again, I think they're nice movements because they're this chance to feel quite expansive in movement, take up space. Do these feel challenging for your hips, Marie, in the same way that half moon pose does?
Yeah, they do quite, yeah.
Yeah. So I think then don't stay there too long, and it might be better for you to do the ones where you keep your pelvis level. I mean, I certainly, for me, it's interesting. I mean, it feels a bit better at the moment, but the one where I bend the top leg, that always seems to.
Yeah.
But then I know some people really love that one. So I think these things vary a lot. Now make sure when you're doing them, you're still letting your head hang and you're still staying really planted in your hands. Because we can get very, very focused on what's going on in our pelvis and our legs. And we don't want to lose those two things, the steadiness and the comfort, sthira and sukha. They are in Sanskrit. And sukha actually means good space, so the great comfort. So it's a sense of spaciousness with it. We want to feel spacious and comfortable. So it might be that you just want to do a sort of normal 2 feet on the floor dog pose for a couple of breaths before you come into your forward bend. And sometimes when we do these variations, actually what's really lovely is when we come back into our quiet, normal dog pose. Just feeling long in a familiar place where we know what we can do to feel comfortable and at ease. And then from there, you can walk your hands in towards your feet so you come into a forward bend. And see how that feels. See how your lower back feels. If it needs a bit of support, bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. Then when you're ready, if you've got your elbows on your thighs, you might want to walk your hands up your legs into standing. Otherwise, let your arms hang. Keep your head heavy, rolling up all the way into standing. Good, so we're going to arrive in standing. I've got a little sequence we're going to do of movements in standing, which will start very simply and build up a little bit. So I suppose I'd like you to come into standing, have a look at your feet, settle your feet down hip width apart and parallel. And then all we're going to do to start with is very simply roll up and down a couple of times into a forward bend. So from feeling your feet on the floor, you can start to let your weight rock back over your heels. You can start to let your body tumble forwards. How does it feel to come down into a forward bend? Have a breath or two there, and then rolling up again, sinking into your heels, keeping the arms heavy, keeping the head. So in a way here, we're thinking about the forward bend as being part of a movement rather than just a pose. So again, roll forwards again. How does it feel to be rolling forwards? Obviously, if you need to bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs, do that. All the way into a forward bend. And then again, rolling back up into standing. And then this time we're going to go a little bit further. So when we roll down, we're going to go into a squat. So if you wanted a block or a book or anything to go under your heels, you can have that. You don't necessarily need to. You can let your heels come up. So again, let yourself roll down, all the way down into your forward bend. And then start to bend your knees forwards over your footprints. And it may be that your heels come up and you want to slide something under them. Maybe that you just let the heels come up. It's nice to be able to be in the squat and let the pelvis hang off the bottom of the spine, which is why you might want something under your heels, even folding up the mat a little. And then let's reverse that movement. So if there is something under your heels, take it out so that you can start to send your heels down and bones up. So we come into a forward bend, we let the head go, we let the arms go. And then we roll up into standing. And now this time in standing, keep one hand on your belly, take one arm up and let your gaze come up and let the pelvis come forward. So we're letting the front of the body open. You might want to bend your knees and drop your tailbone at this point. Good. And then come back down again, all the way to a forward bend and down into a squat. Now I took my feet a bit wider apart for the standing back arch, which can be helpful. So again, come all the way down towards your squat. You can let your heels come up or pop something under them. See how it feels to be here. Lotion. Oh, we've got a little visit from Shimmer Star, which is a treat. Hello, Shimmer Star. And then take your block or whatever is under your heels out. Start to send your heels down and your sit bones up, back into your forward bend, rolling back up into standing. If you can remember, have the other arm up this time, other hand on your belly, front of your pelvis. So as we let the front of the body open, we try to let the pelvis come forwards. We can bend the knees. We can take the feet wider apart if that's helpful. So again, come back, roll back down into your forward bend. It could be helpful for the squat to have the feet a bit wider apart. Just make sure they're parallel. Bending the knees again, letting the feet come forwards into your squat. Having a couple of breaths here, slotting something under your heels if you want to. And then one last time, we're going to roll up into our, standing into our standing back arch. So from here, take the thing out from under your heels, up on the balls of your feet, send the heels down, the sit bones up into a forward bend, rolling up into standing. This time, you can take both arms up. If your neck's not so happy with this, I know some people I teach like to support their head with their hands, yeah? So that's always a possibility. Arms up, bend the knees, let the pelvis come forwards, open the front of the body. And then one last time, we're going to come forward bend, down through our squat. And this time, we're going to come all the way into cobbler pose from our squat. Again, it might be nice to have a few breaths in the squat before we come on into cobbler pose. And then obviously from your squatting, you can put your hands back on the floor behind yourself, gently lower your bottom down. And we'll come to sit in cobbler pose once more. We will do a bit more standing in a moment, but I want us to do a little sequence on the floor. Lean back onto your hands. See how it feels to be back in cobbler pose. And then from here, let one knee come on top of the other. Slide this top leg back. So we're in pinwheel once more, and a little bit of circling. And we're also going to come back into our pinwheel forward bend, just for a couple of breaths, because we'll be moving on from it. So turn your body to line up with this thigh that's turned out to the side. Fold the weight of your body down over your leg. Have a couple of quiet breaths here. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. And then walk your hands in towards you. So from here, we're going to come on into pigeon pose. So this knee that you've just folded over, let that knee come back a little bit. So what I always think about here is I'm lining up this thigh with the long edge of my mat. That's the sort of position you want that leg to be in. And then we're lengthening the other leg back. And we're letting the pelvis roll over a bit. Now, it might be, if it's better for your front knee, that you stay off to the side in pigeon like this, which is absolutely fine if this feels better. Or you can let your pelvis roll over. So this is where we're all doing this really good checking where our own pelvises are. I will come and have a look in a moment with our hand on the back of the pelvis. So it might be at this point that the top of your front leg thigh has come off the floor, which is fine. Come down onto your forearms and we'll have a few breaths in pigeon, doing whatever is helpful.
So for me, it's usually tucking my back toes under and rocking myself up and down my mat a little bit. But you equally might like to rock side to side. You might like to go a bit lower. You might like to be on your hands. So sometimes it's a little bit of moving around in pigeon to find a helpful place to be. And I'm going to come have a look at you now. Lovely, very nice, beautiful. Looks fabulous, everyone. Are you all right there, Sharon? I was worried whenever I take you in class, I nearly always do pigeon, don't we? And I think, oh my goodness.
I really enjoy it, so I wouldn't do it normally, but I haven't incorporated it more on my own practice. It's getting much easier though, because one of my hips.
That's good, Sharon. Okay, because I was thinking of you when I was planning this yesterday. Oh my God, it's not another pigeon.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. Thank you.
I know, Siobhan, you were saying this a couple of weeks ago, weren't you? I did all my favourite things. Was that really?
I know. It would not be on my list.
Yeah.
So if you are really happy in pigeon, you want to have a bit longer, please do. If you're thinking, no, I need to come out, and sometimes it is just.
Kara,
Yes.
you've gone very quiet.
I've gone very quiet.
Yes, we have a bit quiet.
Okay, is that better? I'll come up to the screen.
Yeah.
Am I still
Yes.
quiet?
No, you're quieter than you were, but when you're on the mat, normally we can hear you quite clearly, but you're
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Okay. Maybe it will adjust. I'll go back again. Is it still really quiet?
Yes.
Quieter. Yeah.
Yes, it's quieter.
Okay, let's see if it adjusts. If it doesn't, we might have to leave and rejoin, but not sure why that is. Roll onto your front leg hip, lengthen both legs out. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please unmute everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see if that makes a difference. Mute you all for a bit, and then unmute you and see if that helps. So lengthen your legs out. Is the sound any better? Did someone? Oh, okay, similar. Come on to side 2. Take your top leg back. Do a little bit of circling here. I think sometimes when I move towards the screen suddenly, it seems to have a funny turn. So I don't know why that is. A bit of circling. A little bit of folding over that bent leg. Having a few breaths. I'm going to unmute you, see if that makes any difference. Oh, I'm going to mute you again. Okay, I've muted you again. I'm not sure what's going on there. So, yeah, so folding over that front leg in pinwheel, having a few breaths, and then walking your hands in, taking your front leg back a little bit. Is the sound still quiet? Okay,
It's better now, Kara.
It's better, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
well, let me unmute people if we haven't got the...
It seems to be like you said, it sort of just fades out and comes back again.
Yeah, I'm going to unmute everyone. Let's hope...
It's good now.
Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, these are just these things, aren't they? We have to somehow work around. So yeah, so you let your leg, this front leg slide back a bit so it lines up with the edge of the mat, and then lengthen out the other leg. And see how it feels. So I always find on this side that I want to be a bit more upright. So it might be what really works for us on side 1. It's not what we need to do on side 2. So you might feel you want to be on your elbows, you might want to be lower, you might want to be higher. So I always find on this side, I want to be higher with my toes tucked under. So it is worth having a play around in pigeon to see what feels helpful on each side. And again, I suppose we're talking about this sense of comfort, and that we're trying to get into some of these tight places in ourselves, not in a forceful way, but in a way that's easing them out.
equally on this side, whenever you've had enough, you're going to roll onto your front leg hip. And you're going to lengthen both legs out. Good. So we're going to come back up into standing. We're going to go through dog pose and our one-legged dog poses again and see how they feel after pigeon. They might feel a little bit, see how they feel. So come onto hands and knees, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips up and back. Good. And from here, in your dog pose, seeing how it feels to take one leg up if you like, your pelvis, you can let the pelvis roll, you can bend the top knee, or you can take one leg up, keeping your pelvis quite level. Just see again what feels interesting, what feels pleasant in your body. Enjoyable maybe, that would be good. Pleasant seems a bit lukewarm. And a couple of normal breaths in your dog, and then walking your hands in towards your feet into a forward bend. Take your time in your one-leg dogs if you wish. You might equally, and then we'll roll back up into standing. You might equally be desperate to get out of them. And then arriving back in standing on our mats. When standing, let's just do a few sort of easy things. The other thing I find really funny with Zoom is how it sort of juggles everyone around every so often. So we're all in different places now. Doesn't happen in a yoga class, does it? Everyone's very particular about their spot. Don't move around. Swinging your arms, seeing how this feels. And then we'll do the other one, which I'm rather keen on at the moment, which is reaching with one arm and then the other. So where we feel sort of long through the sides of the body. So we let the weight shift. So as I'm reaching up through my right arm, I shift my weight onto my right leg. It's a little bit noisy, so I might mute everyone because we're going to be balancing, and I think it might help with the balances to have things being quiet. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start with just seeing how it feels to come up and balance on the balls of both feet. So have a look at your feet, settle the feet down hip width apart and parallel, and then let your gaze come forwards and see how it feels to shift your weight. So a few times we'll just come up and down onto the balls of the feet, and then we'll come up and stay there. And we'll just take the arms up. Okay, so if this is feeling okay and you're feeling reasonably steady, the next time you come up, bring your arms up. And we're just taking the arms up towards the ceiling, but letting the shoulders drop down. So we come back to the sense of steady and comfortable. That would be our intention. Be lovely. Good. Have another breath or two there. And then exhaling, come down, have a little bit of a shake out. And then next time when we come up to balance, once we're balancing and we've taken our arms up, we'll then touch our hands into this one, Hakini Mudra. So, which I find really helpful in this one. So same thing, check that your feet are hip width apart and parallel, bring your gaze forwards, and then as you exhale, come up onto the balls of your feet. Settle yourself on your feet and then let the arms come up. And maybe just let the arms come up first of all for a breath or so, and then touch your fingers together in Hakini Mudra and see how that feels. So it's the pads of the fingers, the pads of the thumbs. And then you're going to bring your hands down in front of your chest. Still balancing on the balls of your feet, hands in front of your chest. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave Good. Come down, have a little bit of a shake out. And we're going to do one more variation of that. And we're going to bring just the middle fingers to touch and just over the head. Okay, and then we'll release the arms from there. So just the middle fingers to touch, which is quite interesting as well. So again, look at your feet, feet hip width apart. Let a breath come in as you exhale up onto the balls of your feet. And then as you exhale again, let the arms come up. And bring those middle fingers to touch if you can find them. And then can you soften around that point? So let the hands soften, let the shoulders soften. So you've got that tiny point of contact of the fingers. And can you soften the shoulders and the arms around that point of contact? And then this time as we come down, with an exhalation, let your arms sweep out to the sides, let your heels come down and sweep down into a forward bend. Let your head go. Bend your knees as much as you like. Have a few breaths there in your forward bend. And then in your own time, breathing in, exhaling, sinking into your heels, rolling back up into standing. Maybe have a little shake out. We're going to do a couple more balances. So we're going to start with this one where we're reaching up through the right arm. So reaching through your right arm, let the left arm be heavy and floppy. You're shifting your weight into the right side, right leg. The left heel comes up. And then from here, we'll let the left foot come up completely. We'll catch the top of the foot or the trouser leg. So we can let the left knee drop. Good. Let the right shoulder relax. And then bring your hand to your breastbone. And just see if we can settle here in the center. Quiet, steady if possible. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave us. Good, come down, have a little shake out. Let's just settle for a moment in standing before we do the other side. So have a look at your feet, hip width apart and parallel, and then close your eyes and just feel yourself for a moment in standing. So if we come back to this being the most important thing we do in yoga is feeling ourselves. Maybe let your weight rock from side to side so you can really feel your feet on the floor as you rock your weight over one leg and foot and then the other. Maybe feeling our feet on the floor is just so helpful in terms of settling ourselves. So our attention's in our feet, not up in our heads. And then open your eyes, reach up your left arm, let the right arm be heavy and floppy. Start to shift your weight into that left leg and foot. Let the right heel come up and the right foot float up. Catch the foot or catch the leg. And then let your hand come to your breastbone. So the knees dropping towards the floor. Hands on the breastbone. And if we can settle here, it doesn't matter if we're not feeling that steady. Good. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Come down, have a little shake out. And then last thing we're going to do in standing, we're going to do tree pose. And you can very much choose whatever sort of tree pose you'd like to do. So you've got all these options. Your foot can be on your ankle. Your heel could be over your knee. You could bring your foot higher onto your thigh. If you prefer this, this lotus tree pose, I'm really happy for you to do that. That's probably enough options. You can do this one where you cross your ankle in front of the other ankle. That's quite nice. So just, yeah, what you would like to do, we're doing it very simply, bring the hands into prayer pose, bring the arms up, you know, come back to here. So just decide what you'd like to do for your tree pose right now. Just thinking of something quite sort of quiet and settling, not trying to be too dramatic. And come stand on the right foot again. So whenever you're ready, bringing yourself into tree pose below your waist. We try and organise ourselves below the waist. And once we've done that, we gather the hands into prayer pose at our heart. And we just settle here for a few breaths. So again, we have this intention to be steady. The reality might be different. We're going to feel the foot is constantly moving a little bit, and sometimes those movements will make us topple over. Sometimes we can weather the movements and stay there. If you feel steady enough, you can let your arms grow up. This is where we feel most tree-like. Our arms are the branches of the tree, soft into our palms, alive into our fingers. Feeling the breath flow through us. Dropping the shoulders. And gathering the hands back into prayer pose. So what's very interesting with balances is that once we've been there a little while, we really feel the standing leg and all the muscles in that leg. And again, that's very good just for being very present with ourselves when our muscles start to ache a bit. So let's try the other side. Obviously use the wall if you need to, that's absolutely fine. You know, sometimes we have wobblier days than others. Sometimes one foot is more difficult to stand on. So, when you can, come to this place where we're just settling in the center. If your foot's on your thigh, you've got to really press that heel into your thigh to keep it there. Bringing the hands to touch at your heart. Seeing if you can connect with the flow of your breath. And then from here, arms up if you feel steady enough. This is where we can really feel like a tree. We can imagine the foot growing roots down into the soil. The fingertips growing up to the sun. The shoulders soft and relaxed. And we can bring the hands back down to the heart. Oh, and have a little shake out whenever you've had enough. So we're going to come down through forward bend, dog pose into child pose. So come to the backs of your mats, just feel yourself for a moment and standing, and then rolling on down into your forward bend. And then walking your hands on into dog. And it's entirely up to you how much time you spend in each of these movements. If you're wanting to be down in child, then you can head on into child. If you want a few more breaths in dog, you can stay here. Folding down into child pose when you're ready. And I'm going to unmute people. Lovely. So a few breaths in child pose. Just feeling your body, letting yourself settle. It's nice to feel the contact of the forehead and the elbows on the ground. And we're going to do some more movements on hands and knees. So just in case, Francis in particular, if you're thinking, oh, we haven't done face up dog, we're going to do a little bit of it now. So but a few other things first. So coming back onto hands and knees and revisiting your cat movements.
spine. You can also revisit a bit of tail wagging as well. I'm saying cat, I'll just... So whenever, so cheeky, animals so cheeky, aren't they? So whenever I'm teaching yoga, Otto goes, this is my dog, goes and gets on the sofa in the kitchen. He's not allowed to go on because he knows I'm not going to come and get him off. Terrible. So when you've done some of these movements, what I would like you to do then, if you need to sit back and give your hands a little shake out, you can do that. What I'd like you to do is be in a longer hands and knees position, so that you could just do a little bit of rocking forwards and back to start with. So perhaps not necessarily going all the way into face up dog unless you're really raring to do that. So just how does it feel to start this movement where we take our weight more into our arms and our pelvis comes forwards? And then usually my lower, I usually do a bit of this, but I don't go all the way. And then I think my lower back could really do with a bit of a lengthen out. So now you can tuck your toes under, round your back up and rock back. And then as you exhale, travel forwards into face up dog, really rounding your back. So you're looking at your pelvis. And then when your shoulders come over your hands, then you let your pelvis go and you look forwards. And then the lower back maybe feels a bit more comfortable. So you can repeat that again. You could rock back, tuck your toes under, round your back, look back behind you. Let the breath come in and then travel forwards once more, looking back, looking at the pelvis, looking towards the feet. When your shoulders are over your hands. Good. Do that one once more if you liked. So rounding up, rocking back, letting the breath come in, using the out breath to take you forwards into the face up dog. This time maybe rock back with your feet flat, just sit back on your heels for a moment, give your hands a shake out. And I just thought we could briefly visit the one where we move into face up dog by swinging our pelvis from side to side. So again, you've got to have this longer hands and knees position. And then we do this tail wagging movement to take us back into child and to take us forwards into face up dog by going side to side. So yeah, you see how that feels as well. And if you preferred one of the other ways, you can go back to them. And then yes, that's what we were going to do. We're going to yes, so if you feel that you want to have a couple of breaths in child pose, do so. Then we would, because what we were going to do from face up dog or after this is just lie onto our bellies and just do a little bit of breathing there and then roll onto our backs. So but if you feel that before you lie on your belly, you want to come into child pose, you can do. So yes, when you're ready, come to lie on your belly. I just wanted us, so we've done quite some movements on our bellies. I just wanted us for a few cycles of breath to see how is it to lie on the belly. And I'd like you to bring one, so you might want to have one hand under your forehead, don't have to. I'd like you to bring one hand onto the back of your head. And it's quite nice to do that with your elbow on the floor. So if you bring your arm down by the side of your body and then just bend your elbow enough, you can bring your hand onto your back. So it's going to be the back of your hand on your back. Otherwise it's going to be rather uncomfortable. And yeah, just have a few breaths there. And what I find so strangely reassuring is that you can feel the back of your body responding to your breathing. Just have a couple more breaths and see as you breathe in, as you breathe out. When the breath comes in, you maybe can feel your body rising. As the breath leaves you, you feel the body falling back. So it's just very similar to what we feel in our belly when we lie on our backs.
If you're happy on your belly, have a few more breaths there. If it's not the place for you, you've done really well being there, roll onto your back now and bring your hands onto the front of your body. So you roll onto your back, bring your hands onto the front of your body. All the movements of the breath in the front of your body. Which, you know, is more familiar to us, and we probably feel more movement there as well. And then lying on your back. So if you're still on your belly, roll over onto your back now. And you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And come back to, we did right at the start of class, letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then can you stop tilting your knees and let your pelvis tip up and down? So can you tip your pelvis towards your head and away from your head? So in one orientation, you're flattening out your lower back and the bottom of your pelvis is tipping off the floor. And in the other orientation, you're arching your lower back away from the floor a little bit. Very nice. What a great view of you there, Kate. So it's got a good view of lots of you. Very nice. So we're just tipping the pelvis towards and away from the head and seeing how those movements feel in your lower back, because we're going to go a bit further in a moment with the one where the pelvis tips off, the bottom of the pelvis tips off the floor. So from here, what you're going to do is bend. Let's see, it doesn't really matter. Let's bend the right knee into the chest. And then take the knee out to the side and bring your right ankle to rest on your left thigh, close to your knee. So look at me if you're not sure, but I think it's quite straightforward. So your right knee's going out to the side, your ankle's on your left thigh. And then just start to rock side to side on your standing foot and see how this feels. So this can be a small movement or a larger movement, depending how it feels. Let's have a look at you. Very nice, good, lovely. You've got the right ankle on the left thigh, very nice, and you're rocking side to side on your standing foot. Fantastic. Now, you can always just stay with that rocking movement, but if you want to lengthen out your lower back a little bit more, and that felt fine when you were doing that a moment ago, you can pause in the middle. You can pick your left foot off the floor and catch your hands around the back of your left thigh. So again, look at me if you're not sure. So you're folding now, your knees, you're folding your legs in towards you. Now, it's quite helpful to encourage the right knee to stay away from you using your right elbow. So that's a possibility if you want to find a bit more of a stretch through your right hip, sort of around to your right buttock, really. Makes it feel a bit more like pigeon pose, which I'm sure you'll be thrilled about. And have a few breaths here. You can always rock from side to side a bit once you've folded in. You can always uncross your legs, take them up to the ceiling, give them a shake out. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to mute everyone because there's some rather strange squeaking noises. So, other side. So bring both feet back to the floor now. Knees bent, feet standing on the floor. And then fold your left knee into your chest. Bring the left knee out to the side. Bring the left ankle onto the right thigh close to the knee. So remember, the first thing we did was rocking side to side on the standing foot, which is the right foot. So rocking on that standing foot.
And you can keep with the rocking, or whenever you want to, you can pause in the centre, you can pick your right foot off the floor, you catch your hands around the back of your right thigh. And then again, if that works for you, using the left elbow to encourage the left knee away from you. So you're folding the left ankle in towards you and the right knee, using the right knee to fold the left ankle in towards you. And at the same time, you're encouraging the left knee away from you to your best ability. You can rock here side to side if you like. And whenever you want to uncross your legs, you're going to take them up to the ceiling for a bit of a shake out. Now, we're going to do a little bit of breathing now with some mudras, and you can sit or you could actually lie. So we've got about, we've got about sort of 10 minutes. So it depends. If sitting feels fine to you, it might be quite nice to sit up. And I'll unmute you, but if you want to lie down, that you're perfectly welcome to do that. So I'll just unmute you while I talk you through the mudras we're going to sit with. Sit comfortably, but also once I've shown you the mudras, and if you decide you'll prefer to lie down, that's absolutely fine. Right, I need to move back a little bit so you can see. The first mudra we're going to do is this one called ksepana mudra, which is the gesture of pouring out and letting go. And I think, well, there's always stuff we need to let go of. So basically, all the fingers are folded down, apart from the two index fingers, which are making this look like a funnel shape down in front of you, and we rest the hands down. So if you're lying down, your hands will be on your belly. And the hands are quite relaxed in this one. We just want to feel we've got that pointing gesture of the fingers. And yeah, and we have several breaths here, not too long. It is just really about, as we exhale, whatever we want to let go of goes out, down, and through the fingers. So I'm sure there's usually something we want to let go of. From there, we'll then come to this mudra where we touch the ring finger and the thumbs, and we rest the backs of the hands on the thighs. Now this is called prithivi mudra, and this is prithivi is the earth in Sanskrit, so it's about the ground and just feeling very, in contact with the ground, supported by the ground. So we'll have a few breaths there in case we felt too spacey, letting go. Then from here, we'll come to this one we've done before, this very beautiful earth touching mudra. So the right hand stays on the thigh and we touch our left fingers to the floor. So we're connecting with the earth and also now with the sky. Okay, so that's the little sequence we're going to do. So you can lie down if you liked, or you can stay sitting. And let's just start, if we are in sitting, with a little bit perhaps of circling. Have your back against the wall if you want to, circling, rocking, settling. And yes, I am going to mute you now, unless anyone has anything to say. So from circling and rocking and settling, we're going to bring our hands into ksepana mudra. So this is where all the fingers are folded and we make this funnel shape with the index fingers. The hands are quite relaxed. We're resting the hands in the lap. The shoulders are heavy. The elbows are relaxed. And then we focusing, I think, here particularly on the exhalation. So with each exhalation, we'll have maybe half a dozen cycles of breath here. We just think about letting go of whatever it is we need to let go of through those pointing fingers. And it might just be the exhalation we need to let go of.
Each time we exhale, we're letting go, we're softening. There might be worries, there might be frustrations, there might be physical tensions within us. So whatever that presents itself to you, as you exhale, just let that go, let that pour out of you. And because we don't want to let too much go, it can be a little bit depleting to stay with that mudra too long. Now bring the backs of your hands onto your thighs and touch your thumb and ring finger together. So this is prithivi mudra. This is the mudra, the hand position associated with the earth, the ground. So with the thumb and the index finger touching, maybe come to feeling your contact with the ground, the pelvis, the legs on the floor. The backs of your hands resting on your thighs. So this real feeling that the ground is there beneath us. And if we do feel a bit spacey, a bit lost, then this feeling of the ground is very helpful. If it's helpful for you to circle or sway a little bit, you can do. And then release that contact of thumb and ring finger. Let the right hand stay where it is and bring your left fingertips now to touch the floor beside you. It might be the whole of your hand, it just depends on how long your arms are. And let yourself settle here. So now we have one hand in contact with the earth, the ground, and the other hand open to the sky. So when I sit like this, I focus on the inhalation. When I'm breathing in, I focus on the hand that's turned upwards, this sense of receiving the in-breath, receiving the oxygen we need. And as I exhale, I focus on the feeling of the fingertips on the ground. That feeling of letting go again, of being rooted into the ground as we exhale. So breathing in, feeling that palm turned upwards, that right palm. Exhaling, feeling those fingertips on the ground. Feeling here that we're part of this ecosystem, part of this planet where we gain nourishment from the world around us. And we also give, as we give our out breath, as we give our weight down to the ground. Let's have 2 more cycles of breath here. Receiving the inhalation, our upturned palm, letting the out breath go down into the earth. And then in your own time, opening your eyes, and folding forward so you can touch both hands onto the ground. And we'll We'll lie down for the last 2 or 3 minutes. So hopefully you've got a blanket if you need it. Quite warm out there, but sometimes cooler inside. So settle down onto your backs.
Kara, I'm sorry, I've got to go. We've got a washing machine man here.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry, Kate. That's absolutely fine. Lovely to see you.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Oh, so lovely to see you. Take care.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So settling down. And when we come to lie, this is where we really give ourselves to the ground and allow the whole of our body to be supported. And we let the breath find its own rhythm. It might be deep and long, it might be light and soft, but trusting the intelligence of our body to breathe exactly as we need to right now. So we don't need to do anything. We don't need to try to make things any different than they are. Just let ourselves rest. Notice the sensations that arise in our body, the thoughts that float in, letting them go. Noises around, feeling of the air, the sunlight. Allowing everything to be as it is right now. So take your time, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm going to unmute you in a moment.